one of Howie's great strengths as a GM, he doesn't sit on mistakes. He tries to correct them as quickly as possible.
I've never seen the Eagles make so many trades at this time. Bad job by Howie in the offseason. He may have won the draft perhaps, but he butchered the management of the roster. And I think where they're right is this is a lot of moves, John, that Howie, I think he's made 6 or 7 moves in the last, 2-3 weeks before the start of the season and into the start of the season. He obviously signed Za'Darius Smith. Now you make a trade for Tanks Bigsby. Do you think that's a fair comment? And how do you see how Howie managed the offseason? Because I will say he is a little bit more reactive right now. He's signing a lot of or trading for players, doing different things right now, trying to plug holes. What do you think of that comment? And what do you think of Howie's offseason as it was?
I've mentioned this a few times and I got shit on for it
Yeah,
earlier.
That's why I said we're going to get shit on for it.
Far early in the process, and even Cilio brought it up on our pregame show, and I talked about it there. Look, there's 2 ways you can look at it. First of all, what I talked about, it's easier to make trades now. So you have to also have that in the back of your mind. Young GMs, Howie just did it again. He's done it a couple times with Jacksonville. First-year GM, younger guy, first-year head coach, more willing to move. The new breed of GMs are more willing to trade. So that factors into it.
Yeah, I agree.
The second part is, yes, you can say the 90-man roster was not nearly as deep as we all thought it was, including myself. And actions speak louder than words. Now, the positive from the Eagles standpoint, what one of Howie's great strengths as a GM, he doesn't sit on mistakes. He tries to correct them as quickly as possible. Whether you're talking about Bryce Huff, most teams, and that's why you say, and I speak from conventional wisdom a lot of times with old school GMs, they wouldn't have traded Bryce Huff. They wouldn't have even considered it.
Right.
They would have sat on it, went through the misery for another year, and then moved on. So he's much more proactive. So to me, that's a positive. So again, you're talking about very margin type deals, whether it's John Mechie. I think the Eagles are better than they've ever been at backup receiver in the Nick Sirianni era with Jahan Dotson and John Mechie. He gave up Harrison Bryant. Who cares? No offense, JD. Backup quarterback, which they needed from the standpoint of, unfortunately, Tanner fractured his thumb, and he'll be out for probably another week or 2, but should be back by week 4 at the worst. So they went out and got Sam Howell and a 6, and they give up a 5 and a 7. Would you be more comfortable if Jalen Hurts got knocked out with Sam Howell or Kyle McCord or Dorian Thompson-Robinson? I mean,
yeah, right.
I'm not a big Sam Howell guy, but you got better increment, and ultimately he'll be the 3rd string quarterback, and you're much better if the catastrophe happens, which anybody's screwed, but you'll be much better to have him as a 3rd string quarterback. But certainly as a guy who has to come in much more better equipped to play right now than Kyle McCord or Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think everybody would agree with that.
I certainly agree. And I agree from the sentiment of I like that he doesn't sit on his hands.
Fred Johnson, you get him for a 7th-round pick. You got your swing tackle back. You've already seen Fred Johnson play 4 or 5 games. 5 games he started last year. 5 games. And the Eagles won all of them. Well, they won every game, but so they persevered. That's all you're looking for with a swing tackle. They moved out. Darren Kennard actually played pretty well. Had to play for Green Bay. Had to play pretty well. They got back a 7th. He wasn't going to make the team. So, all right, get an extra pick. They could do more things. Then they give up a 5 and a 6 for Tank Bigsby. And like I said, whether you agree with their thought process or not, and for whatever reason, a lot of Eagles fans don't seem to like Will Shipley. I don't know why. I'm very concerned he got hurt in the first game, but he was pretty damn good before he got hurt.
Look, I was critical of him in the offseason. He looked really good in week 1. I thought he was a great change of pace from Saquon.
Great receiver. I hope
great receiver.
Visions for him. And they get Bigsby to elevate the kickoff return game, which I think is very Eaglesy. You know, it is more important. It is more important. In years past, you didn't even give a shit who the kick returner was because it didn't matter. Now it matters. And I don't know if he can do it, but they think he can do it.
Right.
And as you mentioned, he had a good kick return. Sometimes I think they lean a little bit too much to players. Like one of the reasons they liked Ojulari is that he played well against them. You know, I'd say maybe look at him against some other teams, but because he hasn't been great to this point. But Nick spoke well of him, which I'm surprised. It's going to help us win games or something at some point. Mentioned about him, so no guarantee they'll be right, but I think the mindset behind it makes a lot of sense. So it depends. To your original question, it depends how you look at it. Yes, if your goal is to build up the best 90-man roster, well, their actions speak that they weren't competent in the guys that were going to be in those positions that we just went down. All right, so what? They got better.
Right.
That's go. Now you have more avenues. Again, years ago, 10, we're not even talking about 20, 30 years ago. It's very hard to make these trades. So the assumption, yes, the Eagles have done more than they've ever done. But part of that is just it's easier to do things. And people in other cities are more willing to do things. So, and that was not always the case in the past. But yeah, I think one of Howie's greatest strengths as a GM is moving on from guys who aren't hitting their evaluation points, shall we say, and I think this is evidence of it. They got better at wide receiver. They got better at backup quarterback. They got better on the backup offensive line. And now they have a guy, they got better at kick returner in theory. And who knows, maybe he can help at running back as well.